The story starts with the fight against the lunar fairy. The moon-splitting swordsman, the Sword Emperor's sworn brother, saves him by cutting through the heavens with his sword and making 9 strands of sword energy fall from the sky 6 years after the incident. Everything changed at Waryong Manor. Yun Musun Ryongs from his second wife is constantly beaten by his stepmother, while her children, except for the oldest, watch and laugh at their half-brother. The Sword Emperor Hyungnam took his wife, son, and daughter to see where his sworn brother lived. His son was surprised when he found out that his uncle Yun had died because his 9 heavens sword technique was as good as their clan's. Baekmiju, Yun Mu First Ryong's wife, was so smart that she didn't want the world to know about her stepson. Instead, she focused on how to set up her son Mubik with Hyungnam's daughter Nangong-yeon, since her stepson's husband was no longer able to pass on his techniques. When the whole family got to the manor, Nagong-chun's sister was nowhere to be found. She ended up finding Yun Jioka, who was hurt and tired, with his arms raised to the sky. Yun Muryong was worried about something else when Baekmiju asked the leader of the Nangong clan to set up a marriage between their children. He knew that his health was getting worse so quickly, so he wanted his sworn brother Hyungnam to listen to his request. While this was going on, Baekmiju asked Hyungnam to help her take care of her son. Soon after, Yun Muryong was taken to the doctor. On the other hand, Lady Nangong-yeon meets Yun Jioka. She knew something was wrong and promised to look out for him. When Lady Nangong-yeon was with Yun Jioka, some Nangong guards took them back to the manor. Yun Muryong told his sworn brother everything while he was sick in bed. This included the part about the 9 heavens wise woman mirror not showing up and him leaving his son because his wife died. He left his children in the care of Hyungnam because he knew he was going to die soon. Lady Nangong-yeon could tell from the look in her eyes that the stepmother had something to do with Jioka's condition. When Yun Muryong died in July of that year, Baekmiju called 20 warriors from her home and called them the White Tiger Squad. She locked Jioka in a warehouse where his father's things were while her son went to the Nangong clan to learn their techniques. Surprisingly, he found an abandoned mirror that showed him in the same way. This really scared him. Even though Jioka was locked in the winter with a small amount of food because the guards thought he would die soon, the winters went by. He was no longer afraid of the figure in the mirror, and he learned everything it could teach him. One day, he realized that the techniques the figure was showing were the 9 heavens arts, and he saved himself from the winter by just learning that. The figure told him that the one teaching him the heavenly inquisitive sword technique was the true mirror of Jiotian Fairy. Since his father died in a bad way, no one else knew the secret technique. It was slowly passed down to him, and he worked on it for 10 years while living in the warehouse. After training for 10 years, Yun Mubik went back home to his mother with Chun and his sister Nangong-yeon. When Lady Nangong-yeon came right away to look for Jioka, Baekmiju heard about him because he wasn't in the warehouse. It seems that Jioka was let out of his cage the day before, when he had finally learned all of his techniques. Warehouse. After living in the dark warehouse for 10 years, Jioka sees the sky and birds for the first time. It was like he was born again. But Baekmiju was sure that the boy wouldn't make it outside because he doesn't know how to be an adult. When word got out that Jioka was missing, Mubik went to talk to her mother after 3 days when nothing turned up. If Lady Nangong-yeon didn't find her words strange, his mother's lies wouldn't have been found out. Lady Nangong-yeon found the warehouse where Jioka was being kept, and she decided to tell her father about it because it could lead to a war between the 2 clans. Mubik stood up in shock as Jioka ran away from the guard who had locked him in the warehouse 10 years ago. Jioka thought the guard was going to lock him up again. But just as the guard was about to be crushed by the iron gates, Jioka saved him with his hands by using his greatest strength. After leaving the warehouse, Jioka is hungry and tired, so he eats some wild mushrooms. This makes him feel even worse, and he falls asleep in the forest at night. In the morning, 2 of the bandits find him in the forest. Since he was in worse shape than they were, the leader, Peng Yun-cho, decided to take him in. They took him to their hideout on Empty Woofan, where they fed him and taught him what to do. When Jioka was unsure about joining the bandits, Peng Yun-cho decided to teach him and give him hope that he could do better in life. This was something that no one had ever done for Jioka before. When Jioka let go of everything that had been building up inside him, the clouds and fog broke. This was the start of a new life for him. He learned everything from his brothers, from how to stay alive to how to do other things in life. Even though not every day was perfect, Jioka never again felt alone and sad. Then, one day, people from the Bandits Union who are looking for people to join the Shattering Heavens Demon Lord come to MT Woofing. At first, they didn't want to hire the bandits from MT Woofing, but after thinking about the situation, they did. They hired them as replacements and told them to find 4 more people. The recruiters didn't think they would last longer than 2 months. But as each day went by, they proved them wrong. Gioka wanted to join his brothers on their mountain trips more and more, so he started practicing with a stick to get better. After some time, they got 3 more people, but one of them wanted to fight Gioka to get to the 7th rank. Lee Chulsen thought Gioka was a weak opponent based on how he looked at things, but he didn't know how far Gioka could go to get what he wanted. Everyone was surprised by how strong Gioka was, but no one saw his fist hit Lee's body as he fell to the ground when the 9 Heavens Ki came to life. Gioka gets the older brother's sword as a gift for going on the mountain trips, and Tak Hyungnim decides to teach him how to use it to get rid of demons. The next day, MT Wolfung bandits started shooting arrows at Kang Mudiak and the merchant he was guarding for the Union. He was able to stop all of the arrows in the air, and the bandits' skills couldn't stop him. When Peng Yuncho wanted to give his group time to run away while he distracted the swordsman, Gioka stood in front of all his brothers to protect them while they were all confused in the back. Kang Mudiak didn't recognize the man in front of him, so when he jumped into the air to cut him in half, his sword broke. The professional saw that Gioka had the best skills, so he decided to bow down and give up. Everyone in the back was really confused, but they were happy because Gioka left them alone and gave them a lot of money. When Peng Yuncho asked Gioka to show off his skills, he cut a tree in half with his sword and called it the exorcism sword technique. Everyone, including the only woman in the group, was mesmerized. MT Woofing bandits controlled the 5 peak mountains because none of the escort warriors in the Merchant Union could beat Gioka's skills. People from all over the continent heard about it, and they came from all over to join the stronghold. Over time, the stronghold grew bigger, and Shim and his sworn brother Beck, 2 of the most feared demons in Hunan province, took note of how popular Gioka was. They thought they were good enough to take Gioka's place as chief of the stronghold if they could beat him. Then, one day, everyone met in the 5 peak strongholds to take part in the rank fight that the MT Woofing bandits had set up. But no one in the crowd wanted to fight the bandits on the leaderboard except for the 2 skilled fighters and 3 of their own men. When the announcement started, all 5 of them said they wanted to be number 1 because they are the most famous martial artists in Hunan province. Since they were all after Gioka, he moved into the front line, which scared the men to death just by being there. When the older people saw the boy face to face, they were all scared, so they kept sending their younger people to face Gioka first. Some of them fought him with nothing but their bare hands, while others had weapons, but they all fell down almost immediately. Not only that, but Baekgyo couldn't do anything with his unbeatable fan, which used to crush boulders, so Shim decided to quit the competition. Hejiao village Nanyang Merchant Union told Lee Muriang that Shim Yangak and Baekgyo had joined the stronghold. Lee decided to gather his men and attack the bandits on MT Woofing. One night, the Merchant Union armies attacked the stronghold with fire arrows, but Peng Yuncho stayed put and built another wall around the stronghold. When Lee Muriang saw that it wasn't enough, he used his axe to start breaking down the new wall, which finally let Gioka out. Even though Gioka was only a child, he was incredibly strong. Each hit on the heavenly swordsman's sword made him feel like he was being hit by an angel. The fight between Gioka and Muriang got crazy when Muriang decided to use his strongest move, Unchanging Noon, on Gioka to kill him in one hit. But Gioka was surprised to be able to block it with his sword and hit him with the same move he had just seen. Gioka used it better than Muriang did, who cut him up all over as he lay paralyzed on the ground. The leader of the Mansa Merchant Union, Sang Muchuan, saw Gioka for himself and knew that he couldn't beat the young thief by himself. So, he decided to take some valuable Longjing tea leaves and go to Huguang province to meet Sage Chun Ji, the elder of the Wudang sect, who was his master. Sage Chun Ji lived on Wudang Mountain. He thought that the young thief would be too weak to fight the direct disciple of the Wudang sect, and that if he fell, the 5 peak strongholds would fall right away. While Gioka was on a trip with 2 of his juniors near the Mansa Merchant Union, one of the hooligans started bothering a girl named Sobik. Gioka told the thug in front of him to count from 1 to 10, but the thug didn't care, so Gioka smeared him on the ground right away. Sage Chun Ji, the master of Sang Muchuan, runs into Gioka while he is beating up a thug right in front of him. Sage Chun Ji, however, doesn't try to defend himself or do anything else. Instead, he just keeps going and doesn't even talk to Gioka once. But before he went on his way, Gioka could feel that the master had a bad feeling about him. Then, Chien, Gioka's smart junior, took advantage of the situation to get him to agree to teach her and Sobik martial arts. When Sang Muchun got back to the merchant union, he told his master what had happened, but his master could see a hole in the story. Sage Chun-ji knew Gioka wasn't the destroying demon lord's disciple because he likes to brag, but he was glad to meet a martial arts genius like Gioka. Sage Taehyo knew that when he brought Sage Chun-ji valuable Longjing tea from Westlake 3 days ago, he was about to tell him something very important. But when the issue of unorthodox Murim came up, Sage Chun-ji wanted to do the subjugation of the Five-Peak stronghold on his own, as the divine teacher had shown him how to do it. Sage Chun-ji didn't believe the nonsense rumor about Gioka and wanted to raise him as a Wudang sect disciple to make him the Wudang Sword Supreme. While Peng Yuncho was building the Harmony Pavilion of Five-Peak Stronghold, Gioka was busy teaching Chien and Sobik how to fight. When Gioka was concentrating on meditating and breathing, he saw the same figure in his deeper consciousness that he used to see in the mirror. The vague ideas were becoming more clear. When Gioka, Chien, and Sobik got back to the Five-Peak Stronghold, Peng Yuncho told them that Sage Chun-ji had said he was going to attack the stronghold. Most of the people in the stronghold ran away, but the main bandits stayed and thought about what to do about a monster like Sage Chun-ji. One by one, everyone left the stronghold, except for Lee, Chien, Sobik, and the other 10 members. When Peng Yuncho asked Gioka for ideas, he asked if Sage Chun-ji could cut someone with a leaf. Peng Yuncho thought that Gioka might be able to hold off Sage Chun-ji for long enough for the others to attack him all at once, but he didn't want to put Gioka in danger. Peng Yuncho decided to finally break up the Five-Peak stronghold so he could save the children and everyone else around him. However, the other 10 members, including Gioka, decided to die with him as they stood next to him. Peng Yuncho was glad that everyone was still with him, so he made them all his family. Gioka seemed tired in the morning, and he was worried because he didn't know if he could beat Sage Chun-ji. Since neither Peng Yuncho nor Gioka could sleep, they decided to fight to get their muscles moving. Just as they were about to start talking, Sang Muchun of the Mansa Merchant Union announced that the stronghold should give up. Peng Yuncho didn't want Gioka to have to do everything by himself, so he went to the front of the line to anger the men. Sage Chun-ji thought Peng Yun's speech was too rude, so he decided to attack him. But Gioka wouldn't let his chief do that, so he went up against him himself. All of Gioka's fear and stress went away almost instantly when Sage Chun-ji felt that his opponent had an incredible amount of power. Gioka didn't seem to care much about his opponent's personality because the fight made him feel powerful, but he did let Sage Chun-ji know that he is stronger. That concludes part 1 of this recap. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. What will happen next? If you would like to see a part 2 of this manhwa, let us know in the comments section below. Till next time.